Welcome. You're listening to The Aligned Self, Conversations in Creating a Conscious and Abundant Life. This is Daniel Denovi. I'll be your guide and host. Let's see just where we can take this. Hello, friend, and welcome back to the conversation. Now, this episode is interesting to me, that is, because it is me coaching myself. It is me schooling myself. I don't know if you've been following, but I've had a series of technological setbacks over the last couple of weeks, and it's been quite frustrating. At least I found it frustrating. And it's mostly because of my mindset around it. I've been experiencing these setbacks as obstacles, roadblocks. And frankly, my perspective is flying right in the face of what I teach. So in this episode, I want to talk about disappearing obstacles. Or in other words, making obstacles disappear. But before I wade into this, I want to remind you that this episode is sponsored by my membership program, The Vault. And if you want to learn more about what that involves and what's available there, go to yesdaniel.com and just follow the link. Click the link to view the vault. And I'll be completely transparent. Part of my frustration has been in getting things into the vault. The internet's not been cooperating. My computer's not been cooperating. And that has been frustrating. The good news is that everything seems to be running closer to normal, at least in a way that supports me getting stuff into the vault. So I'm just a couple steps behind, but everything will be caught up momentarily. But the last 2 weeks have been completely frustrating because of my perspective. And like I said, it flies right in the face of what I have taught and continue to teach in the past. So this is me schooling myself. This is actually an excerpt of a workshop that I taught for years called Unleashed and Unstoppable. And I'm reshaping that, and that's going to be a big splash next fall. So you can look forward to that announcement this spring. But until then, here's the truth. Life does not typically unfold as planned. It shows up as messy, chaotic, seemingly haphazard at times. Sometimes shocking with detours and roadblocks, turns that take you off the main road. And it's because when we consciously plan and create intentions, all we can see is all we can see. There are so many variables and influences that can derail our conscious plans, create detours. Yet over the last couple of weeks, I have spent a lot of energy attempting to control events that were actually beyond my immediate control. And I see this in other people too. I see so much energy spent in trying to control events and other people for that matter. And much unhappiness, frustration, and stress is the result. And in my heart, I believe that the gift is in being able to dance, no matter what music is being played. Yet, in the last couple of weeks, I've been not wanting to dance because I wanted the band to play a different tune. I felt like I had got knocked down, like I was on the floor. And when I thought about that, I remembered my own teaching. It isn't how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. You see, you get to declare yourself as being unstoppable. You get to say, and what determines you being unstoppable is your willingness and readiness to get up as soon as you get knocked down. Now, sometimes you need to, sit there for a moment and catch your breath. But in recalling the days when I used to play basketball, when I would dive for a ball, because I was a great defender, but when I would dive for a ball and end up on the floor, I didn't have the luxury to sit there and gain my bearings. I had to immediately get up because the play would move on without me. And if I was to be an active ingredient, I needed to get up and get back in the fray as soon as possible. And disregard skin knees, skin left on the floor, and just move ahead and not even feel any discomfort. My focus was on getting the ball, being in the play. and that is the attitude of resilience. Being able to pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and get back into it, and prevail in spite of circumstances when everything is seemingly going wrong, not going in your favor. It's how you're being in the process, how your heart is aligned with your mind and your body. Are you aligned with your intention? And I have to admit, I allowed circumstances to sideline me. But when we think of all this as an adventure, a journey to enjoy, we actually allow the universe to show up on our behalf. But many people wait to start to avoid difficulties. They want everything to be perfect with as few bumps on the road as possible. They want all the lights to be green between here and there. Can you imagine sitting at home until all the lights are green between where you are and where you want to end up? If you have any experience at all in driving, you know that idea is ludicrous. You actually expect to have detours, delays, traffic lights, red lights, green lights, yellow lights, traffic backups. That's just a natural part of driving. And you don't give up. You don't throw up your hands and turn around and go home. Well, occasionally I have, because it was so bad on that one occasion and I just had to cut my losses. But by and large, you just expect delays. You expect the detours and you just handle them along the way. But if your original plan ends up being way off base, just not executable, then you simply take an assessment of where you are, where do you want to end up, and plot a new course, just like the GPS. Recalculating route. But on the front end of this episode, I did promise in how to disappear obstacles, how to make them go away. Well, we make them go away by adopting a mindset that makes them disappear. This is a quote from Friar Alfred de Souza. He said this: "For a long time, it seemed to me that life was about to begin, real life. But there was always some obstacle in the way, something to be got through first, some unfinished business, time still to be served, a debt to be paid. Then life would begin. At last it dawned on me that these obstacles were my life." And then here's a quote from Daniel Deneuville. "An obstacle isn't an obstacle until you declare it as such. It's really just this little something to handle along the way. You being appreciative and embracing of this makes the entire journey extraordinary." I can remember a young man asked me to teach him how to walk through walls, how to be superhuman. I said, "I can teach you how to walk through walls right this moment." He said, "Really?" I said, "Sure, just use the door." He said, "Oh, aren't you funny?" I said, "No, that's literally how we walk through walls. You see, a door is an obstacle. It could be described as an obstacle, something that's between you and where you want to go. Yet we've handled enough doors that we just go and open the door. It's just something to handle along the way. And if it's locked, we find a key. We find a locksmith. Sometimes we have to break down the door. But we know that the door is just something to handle in order for us to get on the other side." Now, I don't know if you're aware that I'm a firewalker. In 1988, I walked on hot coals for the very first time, 1,200-degree hot coals. And over the years since then, I've walked on hot coals nearly 600 times. In 2004, I became certified as a firewalk instructor, and I've guided hundreds of people across the hot coals. And I've come to think of walking on hot coals, that walk across that 10 to 20-foot bed of hot coals, is a metaphor for manifesting. You have your intention, which is to walk to the other side. You have your perceived gap or the obstacle in between you and the other side, which is the coals. And the coals aren't going away, at least not if you're going or your intention is to walk across them. And then you have where you are on the front end. So in walking on hot coals, What we want to do is manifest an experience. And as we're standing in front of the coals, contemplating when to take the first step, we tune into how we're feeling. What is our relationship to the fire? What is the relationship to our intention? And when you check inside, do you feel fear? Do you feel trepidation? Do you feel stopped? And I've taught people that when you feel that feeling of fear, of trepidation, of feeling stopped, it's because you're focusing on the obstacle. You're focusing on the fire and you see just the fire. And you do not see yourself getting to the other side. And when people focus on the fire, they think of themselves tripping and falling or getting burned. They think of all the worst case scenarios. But what I teach people and what I've learned for myself, and I just reminded myself just a couple days ago that this is where I needed to do, is focus on my intention. Where do I want to end up? And when you're standing in front of the coals, you focus on getting to the other side and you align your heart with your mind and your body towards that intention of walking to the other side. Then it's just a matter of aligning or checking in with yourself to know when you're ready to take the first step. Are you being the person that can take that step? Are you being a firewalker? Are you being the fulfillment of your intention? And when you're being in the fulfillment of your intention, the coals, the obstacle, are just something to handle on your way between here and there. So the way we disappear obstacles is by not calling them obstacles at all. They're just this little dinky-doo thing that we need to handle along the way on our way to our destination. It is aligning ourselves with the fulfillment of our intention, already had, already done. It's feeling that feeling of your wish fulfilled. And when we focus on our intention in that way, when we think of it as an adventure, a journey to enjoy, we allow the universe to show up on our behalf. And you will see synchronicity. You will see the universe bow down before your feet and lay out a road that may have detours, but they're operating on your behalf. So I've looked at these events that have occurred with me over the last 2 weeks as working for me. And so I've been reassessing the course. I've added a couple ideas that made a big difference. And because I lost my hard drive, I've had to re-record several things. So hopefully it'll be even better. But there is this thing in the back of my mind that I wanted it to be perfect. Well, it's going to be what it is. And if it's not as good as I wanted it to be, I can always re-record it down the road. And I don't know about you, but for me, after every podcast episode, and I listen to every one. Again, I actually play it in my car, and I hear things that I could have said or things I could have expanded on. But rather than get upset about it, I just realize, there's another podcast episode where I can expand on that idea. This actually gives me more material for down the road. So when you get tangled up doing the tango, simply tango out of it. Remember, an obstacle is not an obstacle unless you declare it as such. Take that idea and run with it. I'm going to. Until next time, this is your friend and host, Daniel Dano V, urging you to follow your bliss and live your life from inner signals. And by all means, live the epic adventure.